Detroit Lions fans, Steve and Will back with another episode of Detroit Den 313. You already know we talk all things here, Detroit Lions. Before we get going, make sure you bang that subscribe button like you've been banging that subscribe button. It's been great. You guys are really blowing this channel up, and we greatly appreciate it. Steve, the heck are we talking about, man?
Yeah, first of all, if this isn't your favorite Detroit Lions content channel, you're in the wrong spot, and good luck finding a better one. You'll be looking for a while. That's all I'll say. Well, everyone's jumping off the bridge just a couple days ago. The injuries are doom and gloom. We might have got some good news today, and not just today. The last couple days, we've been getting some little breadcrumbs, little drops of sugar in our coffee this morning for some injury news. It's coming out that maybe David Montgomery isn't quite done yet. Maybe Sonic and Knuckles are going to have another run at this thing. And I saw what Jahmyr Gibbs tweeted out or put on his Instagram the other day, just loaded that Sonic just ready to go, fired up, fire mode engaged. I don't really know much about the Sonic universe. I don't know exactly what they would call that in that world. Someone let us know in the comments. But it was sad. It hit me in the bad feelings. I was like, damn, man, like Sonic and Knuckles, man, like that was a good thing. We had a good thing going there. Now David Montgomery's out. Not so fast. Not so fast, Will. Possibly returning for the playoffs. How do you feel?
Excited. A little bit worried in the back of my mind, a little bit worried because I can tell that David Montgomery is one of those guys who will do anything he has to do to get himself back on the field. So I do worry about some of the breadcrumb things that Dan Campbell left in the press conference. One of the things that he talked about was scar tissue. What is that situation going to be like if he does come back, if he does rehab? With a torn ligament in there, partially torn, whatever it is. I'm not a doctor. I haven't seen MRIs. I haven't seen the images, and I haven't seen the exact diagnosis of what came out of it. But I do know that they said it was tore, right? So if he's able to play on it, that makes me suspect that it was a partial tear and they're able to rehab it. If that's the case, I know scar tissue is a thing. So that can affect a lot of things, inflammation, mobility, all of these things. It makes me worry long-term for him, but that isn't my job here at Detroit Den 313. It's my job to talk about it. It's my job to ask the questions, but the bottom line is this. If a doctor looks him in the eyeballs and says, David Montgomery, you are cleared to play football, I'm going to be overjoyed when I see him out there, and I'm going to be excited that Sonic and Knuckles are back together again. So, Steve, right back at you. Do you have any concerns, any apprehensions? Are you worried, or are you just like, listen, let's press on, let's press forward, and let's go win the Super Bowl?
William, I'm going to tell you right now, we went to a public school, Monroe High School. I took a biology class in 9th grade, and I got a C-. So what that makes me is pretty much a subject matter expert in what's going on here, okay? Like, I'm probably the guy to talk to, if we're being honest. That's sarcasm, guys. No, same thing with Aiden Hutchinson, man. As long as it's signed off on by a lot of doctors, they're not going to put him on the field. Listen, these guys, these football players, and I don't like to call them just football players, they're human beings, but the football part of them, the team is investing in them so heavily financially. All the rehab that they get, it's all an investment for the team. They're not going to put David Montgomery out there if this can become worse. Now, something crazy could happen. Football injuries happen all the time. I think we are very well aware of that as Detroit Lions fans. But I don't think that the team doctor, the team physician, the team physical therapist, I don't think any of those guys are going to go to Dan Campbell and say, hey, man, like, we don't know that this thing's fully healed. We personally think you should sit him out of the game. If that's how it goes, if that's how the conversation is, he's not playing. If the conversation is, yeah, man, David Montgomery, he's good to go. We don't think he can risk this injury any further. He's good to play football. Send him out there. I think those are the two conversations. And Dan Campbell's not, he's a former player. He knows the deal. Okay. He's a player's coach. He's not going to put one of his guys out on the football field to risk potentially injuring this thing any further. So whatever the decision is, I'm comfortable with. I think any organization should run their team that way. I don't think you should ever put a player out there. I mean, I don't know if the movie Friday Night Lights is very accurate, but like a Boobie Miles situation, I don't want to say anything like that. I know that was a long time ago and this is the NFL, but take care of your players first and foremost. But if Dan Campbell says that he's good to go, then he's good to go.
Steve, at what point we don't have children out here in the NFL. We have grown men. At what point, and I'm not saying that I'm advocating for this, I'm legitimately asking a question. At what point does a grown man get to decide what he wants to do with his body. And that's what worries me because I could see David Montgomery looking Dan Campbell in his eyes and saying, listen, I will be playing in the playoffs, sir. You know what I mean? And that's what I worry about. Him saying, listen, I'm a gamer. I'm going to rehab this thing. When it comes to playoff time, I'm going to be out there and I'll deal with the rest in the off season. So that's what worries me is him going out there kind of like a guy. If you're a Michigan fan, you know the deal. Blake Corum. Blake Corum was out there hobbling around, braced up, trying to do his thing. So that's what worries me, man. David Montgomery, Knuckles, Chuck Bruce, whatever you want to call him, trying to get out there, tough it out, gut it out for the betterment of the team, knowing that he feels like he can make an impact on the games and help his brothers do what they've planned to do. Same as you, I don't want to see anything long term happen to him. Got a lot of respect for these guys as humans as well. And man, that's the only thing that worries me. But again, prayers up for him. And if a doctor clears him and it's legitimate, I'm going to do nothing but cheer for him. Honestly, if he's cleared and he's out there, I'm just going to assume the best and cheer for him. But in the back of my mind, prayers up that everything is on the up and up and he gets back. And Aiden as well. They get back, they're healthy, they're strong, they're cleared, and they can it's not even only about them playing, man, for the betterment of us as fans. It's about they've put in all of this work, man, and getting the opportunity to play the game that they love and reap the rewards of the work that they put in.
Yeah, I think who do you think makes the final decision on whether a player plays or doesn't play? I think it's Dan Campbell. And I think Dan knows the situation. Like he's going to be like, hey, man, it's Saturday night. David, come into my office. Let's have a conversation. All right. I'm going to be real honest with you. I want you. I don't care what you say. I know what I have from my information from the doctors. I respect that you're saying you can go out there and play, but I don't think you're ready. I think Dan would be in that boat, and I think he would put a stop to it if he really feared that there would be potential injury. But again, we're not doctors. There's a lot of conversations going on, a lot of x-rays, a lot of testing, a lot of mobility testing, weight. I'm sure there's every test under the sun has probably been done on David Montgomery's knee ever since Sunday night. So I think it'll ultimately be Dan's decision. I trust Dan, man. He's a player's coach. He's not going to put a guy out there with risk of injury. I think that's what it really comes down to. And I agree with you. I think that is David Montgomery's mindset. I love it. I appreciate it. But I think when you step into that office and it's just a one-on-one conversation, like it's time to be honest with each other, not just go out there and try to sell me that you can play. Because I'm a former player. I know the risk. So I trust Dan. I trust the ultimate decision coming down to him.
I feel that, man. Unbelievable.
I know. My wife she knows what time we get on here and talk football, and she has the audacity to call me. I can't believe it. Some other good news. This is where the episode was supposed to take place. All right. We had to Will and I had to throw a little curveball and get prepared for something else. We weren't expecting that David Montgomery news, but we're also getting some help on the defensive side of the football, Will, with a guy we've kind of hinted at. We've talked about Ife Melifonwu, but we really haven't dove in. We mentioned like, oh yeah, if he's coming back and he can do this, but this defense is getting some reinforcements as well. Will, how do you feel about old Ife? We haven't seen him all year.
Ife is going to change this defense, period. If he's healthy, I do worry are we rushing him out there early because of our situation? Because now we are in a little bit of a situation with Ennis Rakestraw being out, Kendall Vildor being Kendall Vildor, right? Carlton Davis, he's not available, right? So now we're in a situation. Do we bump a Meek Roberson out there, right? Bring down Brian Branch and then put Ife Melifonwu at safety? That's something that's been talked about. But I think there's a potential that we might see Ife Melifonwu playing the nickel, right? He might play the nickel because, guys, we got to remember his size. He's a big, strong guy, right? No questions about it. But he started off as a corner, right? So he's a guy who can play the nickel as well. They love Brian Branch at the safety spot, so it's not a given. I'm very interested to see where Ife Melifonwu will play. Again, PFF had him graded last year as one of the top 10 safeties. He was number 9. Right? He was number 9. So this is a guy that's going to be very impactful when he gets back on this football field. He's a great blitzer, which makes me think, man, I would love to have him at the nickel as a guy that is in and around that box and he can blitz from there, that's something that he did very well last year. So if I'm talking about who I want on the back end and who I want on the box, I definitely want Iffy in the box. I'm really, really, really interested to see, do we see Iffy at nickel, Brian Branch staying at the safety, bumping the Meek Roberson out to that cornerback position? Because again, I don't know if you've seen what Aaron Glenn said today, but he said, I don't understand why people are hitting the panic button. There's no real reason to panic because he has the utmost faith in his defense still. I'm going to say it again for those who are watching. You are probably sick of me saying it. Zadarius Smith, Levi Onwuzurike, right? Like Pat O'Connor has been balling out. We talk about Al Muhammad. We got Jack Campbell. We got Amik Roberson. We got Iffy Melifonwu. We got Kirby Joseph, right? We got Brian Branch. We got Terry and Arnold. We have guys to play defense, and I didn't even name the reserves of the David Longs, the Quan Alexanders, the Jamal Adams, like the guys that are going to be coming in and getting those spots, that spot duty, that 10-15 snap stuff that we were talking about before. This defense isn't in the dire points that we think it is. Now, would we be better if we had our dogs? We definitely would. And again, I apologize, E-Man, one of the favorite DBs of us here at Detroit Den 313. But I think E-Man is a guy that they're bringing along. They've seen it. This dude rehabs for 12 years, then gets on the field for one play and then gets banged up. So I think the Lions are just carefully unleashing him to make sure that his body's ready to get out there and get after it. But he's another one. We got corners, we got safeties, we got linebackers. This D-line is a little bit banged up, but we have a first-string D-line. I'm more worried about the rotation than I am about if we have a serviceable group to put out there in key situations and on in first and second down, Steve. So are you with me? Do you think that this defense is in a decent spot? We're not where we're, but we're okay.
Well, the only time I've ever been against you is when you tried to tell me that Anthony Richardson would be a better quarterback than CJ Stroud, but that's history. That's in the past.
Get out of here. That is not what I said.
Well, we could go check the film. I think the name of the game, the question mark for a lot of Lions fans, ourselves included, is can you get pressure on a quarterback? Trenches is where we got absolutely dominated by Buffalo. We can chalk the offensive line getting dominated up to a bad game. Defensive line, it's kind of been the story. We don't get a lot of pressures. We've had to develop some blitz packages. Who better than Iffy Melifonwu, who had two of my favorite plays last year? In no order, he had the game-sealing interception against the Minnesota Vikings to wrap up the NFC North and give us the first division win in 30 years. My second favorite play was on, I think it was a Saturday night football game against the Denver Broncos. He had a strip sack. We almost had a defensive touchdown that night. He strip sacked Russell Wilson. Isaiah Buggs, big ass, couldn't get down the field fast enough for a touchdown. Should have handed the ball off to someone else to get down there. But one of my favorite plays, he gets pressure on the quarterback. I think he's like 6'3", 200 some pounds. He can blitz from the outside, the inside. Like if he gets a full head of steam, he can make some moves and beat an offensive lineman. He can get to the quarterback. And Russell Wilson, he's not like a mobile threat, but he can move around a little bit. And he didn't even see him coming. And if he just knocked his block off, if we can just get this defense, and again, our offense, we know we're scoring about 30 points a game, roughly. We're a top 2 offense in the league. We just saw Buffalo. They were number 1. We were like right there behind them, okay? It was a shootout, just how we predicted. Defense, our offense, we know we're getting about 30. What am I asking my defense to do? Force a couple punts, maybe get a turnover, maybe hold a team to a field goal instead of a touchdown. We're not asking them to reinvent the wheel or to separate water and walk across. Like, we're not asking for anything crazy. We're just saying we understand that this defense is probably not a top 10 anymore, but top 15 is still pretty damn good. And like Dan Campbell said, I've been preaching this for years. A lot of people were getting upset last year at our defense because we were getting shredded yardage-wise. Bend but don't break. Let them get in the red zone. That's fine. If you're scoring 3 points instead of 7 and I'm scoring 7 instead of 3, that's the name of the game. I don't care. And Dan Campbell took the words out of my mouth. I've been saying it for a long time. I don't care if we give up 700 yards of total offense or total defensive yards given up. If we win the game by 1 point, that's all that matters. And this is crunch time. It doesn't need to be fancy, pretty wins. We're not going to blow teams out probably 52-14 like we did the Tennessee Titans, but we can still put up 52. We can still put up 45. It's not even a question.
Steve, I'm gonna spoil it for everybody, and sorry, not sorry, but what we're going to see for the rest of this year from this defense is us just finding a way to get stops. All right, we're going to find a way to get stops. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be sexy. Where each game is going to be different. Right? If you're facing Josh Allen again, it's going to be different than if we're facing Caleb Williams. Right? But we are going to find ways to get stops. That's the bottom line. That's what's being preached. And I haven't been in those rooms, but I've been around our coaching staff enough to understand what's being said in those rooms. Just like you said, 700 yards don't matter. 50 yards of offense don't matter. We got to find a way to win. This defense has got to find a way to get stops. We have ball hawks. Now, one thing that I've noticed, and I don't know if, Steve, if you've noticed this, tell me if you have, teams are afraid of us punching the football out. When I was watching James Cook, and go back and watch the film, guys, and tell me if you noticed this. James Cook, when he got in traffic, he was like curling up and trying to protect the ball because we have so many guys that are punching and ripping at that football. Right? It affects the way that teams are operating. Guys are catching the ball and immediately trying to tuck that football away. So they're playing us a little bit different. What's up, Nala? How you doing, Nala? It's good to see you, Nala. Good to hear you. But teams are playing us different, man. And I think now that's why we're having a little bit of a harder time getting those turnovers. And Josh Allen was committed to not throwing that ball up to where Kirby Joseph could play center field and go get it, right? What that's going to do is give us opportunities to get off of the field. If you're not going to go for the dangerous play where we can get our interceptions, you play it a little bit more conservative, then we're going to get opportunities to get you to third down and then get off of the field. It's not going to be pretty, guys, for the rest of the season, but it's going to be enough.
Yeah, just win by one. A win is a win. At this point, with what we've been through this whole season, 22 guys on the IR, I think like 19 of them have been like solid people that we were expecting to contribute to this team this year. It's the most in the NFL by far. It's unheard of. It's crazy. I know people like guys. It's not the training staff. It's not Ford Field. It's not the turf. It's just football. That's just all it is. Like, these injuries suck. I get it, but we got a little help coming. Some good news on David Montgomery. Ife Melifonwu coming back this week. Hopefully, I think we'll see him a couple snaps. I don't think we'll see him out there for 30, 40 plays. I don't know how you feel about that, Will, but we'll see him out on the field. I truly believe that. He's just too important at this point in the season, probably not to have on the field, even if he's out there as a linebacker and they send him on a blitz or something crazy like that. But there's all kinds of things he can do. We're excited about some of this help, guys. I think in the last episode, I realized, like, we can't talk people off the ledge. We really tried. We put a lot of positivity in the world, and people, if you still want to surrender and give up your seats and the season's over, I don't know if you saw what Penei Sewell said this today. Real ones are sticking around. All right.
Yeah.
We deserve these breaks. I'm trying to pull up the quote right here as we speak, but I can't seem to find it. But he pretty much said, Penei Sewell was like, he was with the Corey Woods, I believe, just saying, hey, real ones know they're going to stick around. They know what we're about to do. We're about to take care of business. Everything's going to be fine, trying to calm the fan base down. If Steve and Will can't do it, maybe you listen to the heartbeat of the team, guys. Penei Sewell. Stick around, hit that like button, leave some comments. We'll be back later with another show.